Hello and welcome to Mrs. Law's class. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to solve equations with fractions and decimals. Now, to eliminate the fractions so that you're only working with a numerator, you want to multiply every term by the lowest common denominator. Now, the reason you want to do this is so that you don't have a fraction anymore, so that it's easier to work with the equation. Now, it doesn't have to be the lowest common multiple, but if it isn't, then the answer will likely need to be reduced afterwards. So try to find the lowest common denominator, otherwise known as the LCD. Now, by multiplying by the LCD, the denominator disappears, and then you can solve it like normal. So let's take a look at an example. In this first example, we have two denominators, 3 and 5. So the lowest common denominator is 3 times 5, which is 15. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply every term by 15, left side and right side. So this gets a little bit messy, so you can rewrite it if you want. I'm going to see if I can maybe squeeze it in here. So notice I'm multiplying every term by 15. So when I do that, the 15 and the 3, they cancel off. So that becomes 1, 15 becomes 5. In the second term, 5 becomes 1, and 5 goes into 15 3 times, and then that's it. So in the first term, I now have 5 times 2. And we're going to just write this out so you can see it. Plus, in the second term, I have 7 times 3. Oh, and actually it should be 7x times 3. And then we have 2 times 15. Now you don't have to write this step here. You can actually jump to the next one. So 5 times 2 is 10 plus 21x equals 30. So I just wrote that out so that you can see that what the numbers are remaining after you've multiplied by the LCD. So now we're going to solve like normal. We're going to subtract 10 from both sides. So you have 21x equals 20, and then x equals 20 divided by 21. All right, let's do a little check. So to check, we're going to take our number that we got for x, which is 20 over 21, and we're going to substitute it back in to x. So this will be 20 over 21, and that should equal 2. So on the left side, I can see that the 7 crosses off with the 21 to become 3, and the 5 crosses off with the 20 to become 4. So now I have 2/3 plus 4/3, so that's going to be 6/3, and that equals 2, which indeed equals 2 on the right side. So that is good. All right, let's try another one. So here we have 4 denominators, 4, 5, 10, and 20, and we can see that the denominator is 20. Because 4, 5, 10, and 20 all can go into 20. So we're going to multiply every term by 20. And like I said before, this gets a little bit messy and crowded. So I'm actually going to rewrite this out after. So 20 divided by 4. So we can actually take our LCD and divide by our denominator. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So I actually have 5 times negative 3x. And then we have minus 20 divided by 5 in the next term is 4. So we have 4 and 4x plus 20 divided by 10 is 2 and 7x. And that equals to 20 divided by 20, that's 1. So we just have the negative 1 on our right side. So this gives us negative 15x minus 16x plus 14x equals to negative 1. So on my left side, negative 15x minus 16x is negative 31x plus 14x is negative 17x equals negative 1. And then divide both sides by negative 17. So x equals 1 over 17. Now this one's quite a long one to check, but I'll show you how to do this anyways. So I'm just rewriting all of this out, but I'm going to plug in 1 over 17 into my x's. Now you can see that all of them have a 17 except for the right side here. And I can also know that my LCD is 20. So from before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this first term by 5. So I get that 20. The second one I need to multiply by 4. And the third term I need to multiply by 2 to get 20. And the last term on the right side I need to multiply by 17. Now the reason that I've done this is so that I can actually get a common denominator where they're all the same. So on the left side here I now have 5 times negative 3, which is negative 15. 4 times 4 is negative 16, and then plus 2 times 7, which is 14. And they all have a denominator of 5, 4, and 17, which I'm not going to multiply because I really don't want to. So on the right side, I have negative 17 over 20 times 17. So on the left, negative 15 minus 16 is negative 31, plus 14 is negative 17. And my denominator is 5 times 4 times 17. And actually, I'm going to reduce this back to negative 1 over 20 because I can see that these two 17s cross off to give me 1 and 1. So on my on my left side, I do get negative 1 over 20, which equals negative 1 over 20. So we know that since they're equal, x equals 1 over 17 was the correct answer. Now, one of the things that you might want to do is you might want to cross multiply. However, because we have 3 fractions on the left side, or even 2, do not cross multiply because this only works when there's only 1 fraction on each side. So our next thing is we're going to take a look at equations with decimals. All right, to solve equations with decimals, you can simply leave it in the decimal form and solve it as a normal. Okay. Or the other thing that you can do is to eliminate the decimals by multiplying every term by the lowest common denominator or by the power of 10, which would get rid of all the decimals. So I'm going to show you both of the ways so that you can see how to do them. In the first one, let's just work with the decimal. So I can see that my y, my variable, is already on the right side. So I'm going to move my numbers to my left side. I'm going to do this by adding 12.5 to both sides. So I get 19.8 equals 6.6y because negative 12.5 and plus 12.5, that will cancel off. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 6.6. So now I have y equals 19.8 divided by 6.6. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 10. That way I can get rid of the decimal. So I have 198 divided by 66. And I can see that I can divide by 2 to reduce. So this gives me 99 divided by 33. And that actually makes it easy because I know 33 goes into 99 3 times. So the answer to this one is 3. And again, we can check. I just didn't leave space for this one, but you can plug in the y value of 3 into your equation to make sure that the right side is equal to the left side of 7.3. In the second one here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply every term by the LCD, or the power of 10, so that I get rid of all the decimals. Now I can see that this first term has 3 decimal places. This one has 2, 2, and 3. So the 1 to 3 decimal places means that the LCD is actually 1,000. So I'm going to multiply every term by 1,000. And when I do that, I'm going to get 4x plus 0.09 times 1,000 is 90 equals 60x. and then minus 8. So remember, by multiplying by the powers of 10, we're going to move the decimal over that many places depending on how many zeros there are. So 0.004, I'm going to move it over 3 places, so we end up with 4x. 0.09, I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 places, so I end up with 90, and so on. So having the equation look like this, it looks just like what we've done before. We're going to subtract 60x from both sides. So now I get negative 56x plus 90 equals negative 8. If you also want to move the 90 at the same time and get rid of that, you can do that at the same time. So you can also minus 90 and minus 90. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do it on another step here. So minus 90, minus 90. So now I have negative 56x equals negative 98. So x equals 98 divided by 56, and negative divided by negative is positive, so I've gotten rid of that. And I can reduce, divide top and bottom by 2. So I have 49 divided by 28. Oh, and I can now see that these are divisible by 7. So I get 7 over 4. Or if you want to change it to a mixed number, this is 1 3/4. So that's how you can solve an equation with decimals.